This is the Extra Point Podcast from Arizona's family.
Yeah, well, back on the Extra Point Podcast for an encore presentation. We hope he's a regular guest of ours here on Arizona's family because he's the man who called this from day one. Kevin Durant interested in the Phoenix Suns. The DeAndre Ayton situation yesterday certainly made that storyline that much more interesting. Will it happen? How it will happen? Let's check in with Flex from Jersey now as he gets ready to hit the town in Manhattan tonight. But before that, talking to us here on the Extra Point Podcast. And first of all, Flex, before we get into how this is all going to work, you've made a lot of new friends on social media here in the last 3 months, haven't you?
Yeah, man, it's been crazy, man. You know, it's a crazy business, tough business. You got to be thick-skinned, but I'm from New York, so we handle that well. And yeah, it's been interesting, man. But we just roll with the punches, man. It's a lot of fun. Well,
it's you know what? Some people have been taking shots at you on social media, and I still have a feeling this still could get done. And I know you've talked about the pursuit is still there. But first of all, just your reaction yesterday when the Suns matched the offer sheet that DeAndre Ayton signed with the Indiana Pacers. That was not what we were expecting at all. What was your reaction?
Honestly, Mark, if I'm being honest, I wasn't shocked at all. You know, some of the conversations and people I've spoke with along the way, the Suns pretty much expected this. They had planned for this. So, you know, I really wasn't shocked. I don't think it was as much of a game changer as some people may believe it is. But, you know, they looked for a sign and trade. They were very aggressive. They looked at every avenue in the sign and trade for DeAndre Ayton, but they always knew that if they didn't get the return that they wanted, they wouldn't lose him for anything. And so Indiana tried to put the offer sheet out there and call the Suns bluff. And you saw how quick that happened, man. 90 seconds, literally 90 seconds after they got the offer sheet. They didn't take the 48 hours. And that's very telling. And we can get into that a little bit if you want, but that's very telling.
Yeah, let's actually get into that because I was running laps around the newsroom in the studio yesterday as tweets were coming in and trying to figure out what was going on. And the Suns said nothing was official, but it was pretty much official. And we went with it yesterday when we saw what Woj and we saw what Shams and we saw what you were putting out there. So yeah, as you've been able to kind of dig in on this, how quick did that happen? And what do you think that says about DeAndre Ayton as far as what he means to the Suns?
The Suns love DeAndre Ayton, man. You know, I've been saying it for a while. You know, this was a matter of business. This is a business. The NBA is a business. The Phoenix Suns had their guidelines, and DeAndre had his. And so they encouraged him, hey, go out there and find a max contract. And if you can do that, we'll match it. But if you can't, then we have a number that we like, and we'll reach that. We'll get to that, you know, to that point when we get there. But it was very quick. The Suns knew it. They knew it was coming. It wasn't shocking. They value DeAndre and always have, and they weren't going to lose him for anything. So they bring back a 23-year-old number 1 overall pick. That's a fantastic player. That's very important to their core. And they didn't even hesitate. They didn't think about it. Didn't take the 48 hours. And I want to reiterate this, Mark, because this is important. You know, this is a unique opportunity with Kevin Durant. This doesn't come around very often. Once in a lifetime generational talent and a chance to do something like this. The fact that you make that decision in 90 seconds when you had 48 hours, I don't think you close the door on Kevin Durant in 90 seconds. If they didn't already have some type of idea or some type of game plan as to alternate paths to get this done. So I want to remind people the Phoenix Suns have known about this for a while, and they have multiple paths and multiple plans in this situation.
Well, and I'm looking at that tax bill, that luxury tax bill, and thinking, yeah, how are they going to get this done? What's that roadmap look like to getting the Durant deal done in your estimation?
Well, here's something that's important. Let's talk about this. So, you know, obviously the Phoenix Suns were interested in doing a sign and trade for DeAndre Ayton if he can be a part of a deal that brought Kevin Durant to Phoenix, or a separate deal that brought particular assets that could be rerouted in a Kevin Durant trade down the road. The problem is that I don't think enough people are paying attention to is DeAndre was on a base year compensation situation. So his outgoing money was $19 million. And so if they did that and they acquired Kevin Durant, they're trying their hardest to keep Mikal Bridges in that situation. Mikal Bridges' number is actually higher than DA's outgoing money.
Wow.
So this is something that they already knew. They were already going to be in this situation. If you got Kevin Durant and you lost DeAndre Ayton, but you kept Mikal Bridges, you basically be where you are. Now, because you're bringing back DA and that number is at 30, yeah, there is a luxury tax. But I don't think the Suns are scared of the luxury tax, not when you're going to get a guy like Kevin Durant. And I've been told emphatically from contacts that the Suns are willing to go, and hear this number. I'm hearing they are willing to go upwards of $90 to $100 million in luxury tax if they can get this done. That's how much they value a guy like Kevin Durant. And I don't think I need to explain to you how some of that money gets recouped, right? The minute Kevin Durant jerseys hit the shelves, I mean, you're going to get a big portion of that back and sellout crowds and all the revenue that comes with a Kevin Durant thing. So it's a business, and you just got to let the things play out. But I don't think the luxury tax is scaring the Suns, not one bit.
Well, do you think the Suns currently have a deal to put together to get Durant, or does this look like something that might linger on here for a while?
I do think it could linger, okay, but not because the Suns are not in a position to do this deal, okay? On paper, if you look at the Phoenix Suns and you look at for lack of better words, the other 29 teams in the league, are there teams that could put together a better individual package? Of course. That's unequivocally true. But that doesn't satisfy or meet the fact that Kevin Durant doesn't have interest in a lot of those teams that have those packages. So that's the trump card. Now, do the Phoenix Suns have a good package? Absolutely, man. Listen, you got a 25-year-old Mikal Bridges on what I'm being told by league sources is a more attractive piece than DeAndre Ayton around the league. Okay, because this is not a centers league. This is a wings league. And this is a guy who's first team all NBA defense, runner up for defensive player of the year. And I've been told is on one of the best NBA contracts you can have. You follow that up with Cam Johnson, who's a runner up for sixth man of the year, not to mention a plethora of expiring contracts. And when I say this, not to be too long-winded, Mark, but, you know, with those contracts, we're not talking about end of the bench, I'm going to retire in a couple years, wasted money. We're talking about guys that can come in, a Jay Crowder, who started for a 64-win team and a championship team 2 years ago and subsequently 3 years ago with Miami. So that's a valuable player. Cam Payne, Landry Shamet, Dario Saric, those are all guys that are rotational guys that teams are interested in because they're expiring, but yet they can still play. And so we add the 4 first-round picks, the 3 pick swaps, and the Phoenix Suns become the team that can most easily facilitate a Kevin Durant trade with a third team. They're in a spot to do that emphatically, and I think that's the path.
Okay, you're not getting long-winded at all. We're literally hanging on every word here, trying to – I mean, everybody wants this done here, but you do kind of wonder about the Rudy Gobert trade and how much that set this thing back. How much, in your opinion, do you feel like that set back the trade talks between the Nets and the Suns, with the Nets just wanting more of a haul?
Well, you know, I think that has sent a benchmark for what teams are looking for. But my information and my conversations are the Nets are not so stuck on the draft pick compensation. You know, they want draft picks because they don't have many. And so they want to recoup a little bit, but they're also in a market where they want to win. They're trying to kind of hit the reset button quick if this KD thing happens. So I'll give you a scenario where, and I don't want people to go crazy here. I'm going to give you a scenario in which I've heard there have been conversations and rumblings for a little while. The Nets really like Donovan Mitchell, and the Utah Jazz are in the business of acquiring a ton of draft capital. That's what Danny Ainge does. But here's the funny part of that. Utah cannot provide what the Nets want individually. And the Nets can't provide to Utah what they want individually because they don't have picks and Utah doesn't have enough. And then you have the mystery team, the Phoenix Suns, that are just sitting there and saying, hey, guys, we know Kevin wants to come with us. We can give Utah all the picks they want, and we can throw Mikal Bridges and Donovan Mitchell over to Utah. We can give Cam Johnson somewhere. And that's how the cookie crumbles. This is how the path becomes more real. The Suns are sitting down saying, we have all the assets to facilitate this thing. And you guys can talk about whatever you want behind the scenes, but when the time comes, we'll be here patiently waiting. And that's the path I think that is very reasonable. If it's not Utah, it could be someone else, but keep an eye on that. my brother. Keep an eye on that.
That was very kind of Windhorse, like, hey, what's going on in Utah? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean that seems like a very doable path, and kind of as we look at the breadcrumbs here and try to figure out how it crumbles here. Is this something that we're going to need pressure to get a deal done? Do you think this goes all the way to training camp, or is there a path to maybe, right around when Kyler Murray is signing his extension here in the Valley of the Sun, Kevin Durant also comes to town and my head explodes?
I think it's going to take some time, because I think right now the Nets are in a situation where, they were in summer league, executives were talking, and I think that there was a report that hinted toward this earlier, but I'm strictly speaking on the conversations I'm having. No one is giving the Nets what they want, because they know it's fool's gold. They know that Kevin and his management team have their eyes on Phoenix. So a lot of these conversations are just kind of like, hey, we'll talk, but we know what the real writing on the wall is here. And so the Nets are not getting what they want. And so I think the Nets right now are in a defensive mode, and their leverage is, hey, well, we can bring Kyrie and KD back. And that's pretty much their biggest ammunition right now, is the threat of bringing them back. The problem is the conversations I'm having with people in Brooklyn are very clear. They know the writing's on the wall. They know that their days are numbered with this Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving situation. So you can kick the can down the road as much as you like, but eventually reality is going to set in, and you're going to have to do something. And so I think it's going to take a little bit of time. It could play into August. There is something going on in Los Angeles that has a lot to do with this that no one is talking about. And if you want me to elaborate on that, I will.
Oh, please do. Please do. I mean,
here's the situation. The market for Kyrie Irving is very much like the market of Kevin Durant. There's just so many places he can go. And the Lakers have a strict date of August 4th where they have to get an extension done with LeBron James. And that's I'm being told that's a pretty big holdup right now, because LeBron has to commit by August 4th in order to sign a 2-year extension with the Lakers. And the Lakers don't want to go all in on Kyrie Irving until they have a full commitment from LeBron James. So there are dominoes that need to fall, but when they fall, you might see a rapid reaction here. So I'm paying attention to the August 4th date and how quick the Lakers can get some type of inclination as to what LeBron wants to do, so that they can then be comfortable sacrificing what they're going to have to give up to get a Kyrie Irving to LA. And then once that happens, the Kevin Durant thing pretty much blows up on Brooklyn. And now they have to really sit down and face reality and say, hey, these packages are what we're dealing with. Let's just make the best deal and get everybody where they need to be. So a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes, brother. But I still got some work to do, man. Still got some work to do. August feels like a long ways away right now.
Any chance LeBron is looking at this, though, and saying, I don't want Durant out west? Maybe we don't go with Kyrie. I mean, how many different dominoes in that situation? I mean, what do you think he's weighing there in Los Angeles?
I can tell you what, Mark, and I haven't elaborated much on this because, again, I try to tread lightly and I want to respect my sources and my context at all times. But I can tell you what, before the Kevin Durant thing happened, I was hearing a lot of rumblings about LeBron James being very uncomfortable with the Lakers situation. And I was being told emphatically that there was a chance that the LeBron James and Laker thing could blow up even before the Kevin Durant situation happened. So LeBron is in a situation where he's saying, I've got a 2-year window to continue my legacy. And, this team doesn't have picks. This team doesn't have depth. And this team is in a really bad state. And so there is some stuff going on in LA that people are tending to ignore right now. And I'm just patiently sitting back and watching LeBron do what LeBron does. But I think right now the Kyrie situation has got him a little bit enamored, because he might be thinking this is probably the best shot I got other than getting my way out of LA. And so we got to see how it plays out. But I tell you what, I think he would have committed already if he was 100% sold on the Kyrie Irving thing. And I can tell you one more thing. I was told from a trusted source that the Lakers wanted this commitment on draft night, and LeBron refused to give it to them. So there's trouble. I said there was trouble in paradise in Brooklyn. There's some trouble in LA too. So we just got to let the things play out. And the Phoenix Suns are kind of just sitting back watching this whole thing play out.
Wow. So opening night in the NBA, do you expect this to be sorted out if the August 4th deadline comes and goes and we're still – and there's more trouble behind the scenes?
I tell you what, I don't think this is going to drag into like training camp or anything like that. But I do think once that August 4th date comes, we're going to get a lot of clarity on what the direction of the Nets is going to be. And, you know, Kyrie said something interesting the other day. And in this business, sometimes, you know, you ever hear that saying, you know, sometimes no means yes and yes means no, right? You know, in this business, you learn very quickly that that's how things go. And so there was a report that Kyrie made it clear that he would want to come back to play with Brooklyn. And I know there was a little stir up with that, but I can promise you this is a business. And sometimes what people say, there's calculation behind it. And, you know, my feeling behind that is that the Nets are seeing they're not getting what they want for either one of them. And in order to get Kyrie where he wants to go, there's going to be some cooperation needed. So maybe, hey, Kyrie, maybe say you would want to come back and put the pressure on some teams to actually give us a package that we'd be okay with so we can move you where you need to go. And again, that's just how this business works, man. So there's a lot of backstories and back channel stuff happening. And I think the Nets are in a situation where they're eventually going to have to make a move on this before things get out of hand. And their market for these players could significantly dip if they take that risk.
Interesting. Man, I feel like this has been fantastic bringing the heat here. For you, I mean, what do you no vacations now? You're not going down to the Jersey Shore. You're just working your sources from now until August 4th.
I am going to the Jersey Shore tomorrow. I'm going to spend some time with the family, but the phones are always with me. And I tell people this all the time. Planet Orange is probably going to be very happy when Kevin Durant ends up in Phoenix. Let me not say when. Let me say if and when, so I don't get too people riled up here. But
all your friends on Twitter are going to check in.
Everyone's going to be crazy, and they're going to have a good time. And I'm going to disappear off the radar for about 2 weeks. Turn the phone off, have some sand under my feet, and enjoy some quality time with my wife before she decides to get rid of me, because this is tough, man.
Well, go take her out to a nice dinner tonight. Get some sand under your feet. I think you need to be here for opening night, by the way. I think we need to make that happen. And I think if there's a championship parade, maybe you have your own float.
Hey, that'd be great, man. But listen, I'm a humble guy, so I'm not expecting. I will be there for opening night, though. I was there last year for opening night. I will be there for opening night. I'll probably do the post-game show with John Bloom from the arena. With 98.7. So, yeah, man, I'll be out there. I will reach out to you. And I don't drink personally, but I will gladly buy you as many as you would like, my friend.
Because, dinner's on me for this one, the last one, and hopefully the next one when August 4th comes and we can say, hey, he told you so from a very early date. So, hey, thanks so much for your time today. Really appreciate it, and have a great weekend, great night in the city with the wife.
My pleasure, Mark. Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
The Extra Point Podcast is a production of 3TV, CBS 5, and azfamily.com in Phoenix, Arizona.